Hello everyone. We are back with another Clossi Approach series video, and we are at game 2, I believe, of the 15Q through 10Q, and we have a volunteer, Gone Sax. Thank you so much for volunteering. And yeah, he is a 10Q, and we'll be going through it. Mostly we'll just be looking at what is the difference between a 10Q and a single digit Q, and how can we use the Clossi approach to surpass 10Q and win and beat 9Q. But before we get into it, I actually wanted to mention a couple things first. So one thing I've been noticing a lot, and this is true in 2021. 2020 and 2021. I don't know when you're going to be watching this in the future, but right now there is a strong barrier from 9Q to 7Q. And that's why I want to talk about this now, is because I want to help you build the fundamentals to get past that barrier before you get to that level. So what I mean by barrier is there's some sort of mental or skill thing that makes 9Q to 7Q to move through those ranks more difficult than generally the other ranks. And so I know I know this because in the students I've been teaching, there's been a big portion from 9Q to 7Q that get stuck at those ranks much longer than a lot of the other ranks. So I know that many people watching this video might also get stuck there as well. And if you do, it's okay. It's normal. Don't freak out. You're still good at the game. But let's work on making some fundamental practices that will help us get through those ranks a little bit easier. So the big fundamental idea that I want to talk about before we get to single digit Q is habits. Habits, 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 habits. And I'm becoming convinced that 15Q to 10Q is where you start building some habits, and then 9Q to 7Q is where you reinforce those habits, or maybe build and reinforce those habits there, and you get a lot of bad habits, and then you get stuck. And the way I think to get past those is to, one, recognize our bad habits as soon as possible, and two, build some good habits going forward. So what are some of the bad habits? One of the biggest ones is playing way too fast. Way too fast. Okay, and another one is you start learning the fundamentals and you're able to recognize them more quickly, which causes you to play good moves, but you play them too quickly. So it's not that you're getting worse, it's that your habits are getting worse. Even though you're playing the same level of moves, it's because you're getting better at the game that you take less thought to arrive at the double digit Q answer. The problem is, to improve, you always have to push yourself to arrive at a slightly better move. And if you get rid of that habit, if you get comfortable, or you get lax with that pushing yourself and just be satisfied with the quote unquote good moves that you're playing right now, you won't be able to improve. You won't get weaker, and your moves won't be necessarily bad. They won't be better than your level, and you'll get stuck. So those two factors, I think, kind of combine into a lot of bad habits that I've been seeing. All right, so first we have to address the playing too fast. What does that mean? It means it actually can come up in several different ways that I've seen in my students. Some ways are you're able to identify the correct move for your level very quickly. But once you can do that, you're not supposed to think less. You're supposed to use the extra thought time, or extra thought processes, or the extra reading that you have available to you now, to find a slightly better move, maybe improved by 1 point. So what that can mean is, for example, oh crap. I was going to play a variation. I forgot I'm in a game. Okay, thanks. Um, I was gonna play it on variation. Okay, what that can mean, for example, is let's say you have a move and you approach and your opponent pincers, and at double digit Q, we would think defense first, okay? But going into single digit Q, we can take it a step further because now we understand what defense means. We can take it a step further and say, this is what a Joseki looks like, and let's play a Joseki. And at double digit Q is just like, okay, learn a Joseki. At single digit Q, it can be more like learn several Josekis and say which one works in this situation. So now it's less about defense first because we know all the defensive moves. We're going to do it naturally. We can do that much more quickly. But rather, it's going to be which defensive move or which Joseki or which shape that does my job is better in this situation. So it allows us to read more. And we're going to do this more in single digit Q. But this idea of getting comfortable with your thinking and not pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to be a little bit better is a very dangerous habit to build and reinforce in this range of 15Q to 7Q. So that's a big thing. Also, there's a lot of little thinking habits that you can do. So for example, I have a student that is really good at reading. They're 4Q level actually, 4Q, 3Q, 2Q, depending on where they are on the which server they're on. But they're really good at reading. But they have the habit of reading after they get in trouble instead of before they get in trouble. So you really got to think about when are you thinking? On what move are you thinking? And again, we'll talk more about this at single digit Q, but thinking about the result before you play the first move. Now, this is not possible at double digit Q. Right now, you need to figure out what moves are going to happen by gaining experience. But be very careful about the habits you build in this range, because at single digit Q, you are going to reinforce those habits a lot. So if you are building habits right now, whatever strategies, whatever basics, whatever fundamentals you're building right now, you want to be very strong and solid fundamentals, and that's good, but don't forget the mental fundamentals as well. Not just the skill, the tactics, the strategy, the mental habits. Taking your time. If you're misclicking a lot, then you're clicking too fast. You're not controlling your mouse hand very well. And if you're playing in person, if you always have a stone in your hand and as soon as you see a thought, you play it and you're like, oh crap, I shouldn't have did that. That is a bad habit. Let go of the stone, take your hand off the stone, take your hand off of the mouse. These habits are going to come into play a lot in single digit Q if you build them now. So instead of those bad habits, we should be building good habits, because right now at double digit Q, this is a fresh slate. And as a teacher, when I get a new student, I actually am like, I hope they're double digit Q, because double digit Qs are easier to teach good habits than single digit Qs, because single digit Qs I have to break bad habits first and then teach the good habits. So the weaker you are, the sooner you start doing this, the better, because the sooner you start building these habits, the better. Because if you get to single digit Q with bad habits, you have to unlearn those and then learn the good habits, and it's just going to take even more time. So I really want you guys working on habits. Take your time, look before you leap, think about your move and your options before you play. Don't play too fast. Take your hand off the mouse. Don't panic. That's another one. Don't panic when a bad thing happens. When your group dies because your opponent outread you, or maybe you read something silly, don't keep burrowing down. Don't get angry. Really work on that self-discipline. And that's one of the hardest things to do. It's one of the greatest skills I've developed in Go, is that self discipline. When you make a mistake, don't just keep making the mistake, but like stop, accept the mistake, and reevaluate. It's really hard, but it's one of the best habits that I've built from my Go lessons and from my Go studies. So just any of these good habits, you want to start making them now. You want to take the extra effort to make them now, because going into single digit Q, we're going to have a lot more stuff to learn. And if you're having to also unlearn stuff and learn good habits in addition to the other strategies that we have to learn, there's going to be a lot more time spent in that range. And I think it's why the 9Q to 7Q, I've noticed that's where it all kind of like happens at the same time, where all those bad habits and all the new tactics, it becomes overwhelming, and a lot of people are getting stuck there. That's what I've noticed just teaching my students recently, is that's a big dangerous range. And so I want you guys to start working on your habits before you get to that range, to make it easier for you to move through that range. So take your time, look before you leap. If you get caught off guard, stop, reevaluate, don't rush, don't misclick. And yeah, work on these habits before you get there. So with that, let's go ahead and start the game. So we're going to say, hello, have fun. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to ask if they're ready. All right. So we're going to resume the game. Okay. So I'm not sure what I want to do. Let's do star point 3-4. That'll be fine. Ooh, I like that comment. Can't spell fundamentals or fundamental without mental. Mental habits is another fundamental that you have to learn. All right, so we have the bottom side and the right side. So I'll just like building ours first. For single digit Qs, I think the AI likes stopping your opponents more than building your own. I don't know why. And it can be more aggressive. But for double digit Qs, build yours first and then approach theirs, because it'll be easier to play. It's easier follow-ups. So just learn that habit right now. And then at single digit Q, if you want to change your priority, which I don't know if you've been watching the Clossi classes or not, but we talked about in the opening classes, we talked about how just shifting a priority can actually completely change your opening. So right now, the type of opening that follows up can just be easier for you if you enclose before you approach. If it's of equal sides, enclose yours before you approach. It'll be a little bit easier for you to handle. And then at single digit Q, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, this is still valid, but if you want to be a little bit more aggressive and create a little bit more confusing of a game, you can approach before you enclose, assuming both are equal. All right, so in this case, defense first, and I'm going to choose the top side since I already have an enclosure on the right. We're going to Clossi Approach. All right, so when they jump, it's just time to start settling. So usually I'd probably go low, but this is already low, so I'm debating high. But let's just go low. I think it's just simple and easy. We're just going to start making bases on both sides. You could go high if you wanted to develop on the right a little bit more, but just unnecessary. All right, so defense first. Jump. Still behind that line, so jump. And our corner's fine because we have Q18 and we have R11 for making a base. So we are still fine. A-okay, no big deal. Let's jump one more. And now we're out in the center. We're pretty far out, so looking pretty good. So even if he jumps right there, I think we're good to ignore. All right, so he took our base from this way, so let's make our base this way. And we do go on the second line here, not the third line, because our opponent does have P18 to push our border anyway. So this is just better. And a lot of people may be worried about this peep. I will tell you that yes, the peep looks scary, and maybe you're like, oh, I can't handle it yet. But Q17 has more Aji than Q18. Because if you go Q17, there's R18 instead of R17 as R18. And so there's even more Aji, because if you combine R18 and then S15 and then S17, which we can look at in the review. So just because if you go here thinking that, oh, this is just easier for me to handle, it's actually not if your opponent knows the Aji, which they probably don't. But I think it's just better to learn Q18 and learn how to deal with the peep than learn Q17 and learn how to deal with the other stuff and just learn that Q18 is better. I mean, just start with the better move and just learn. Because if you go Q17, there's actually more Aji than if you don't. So yeah. So our group is pretty out. Probably we can defend one more if we really, really want to. Um, yeah, I would say it's fine. They're pretty weak if we jump, and yeah, I would say it's fine. Probably at single digit Q we'll stop doing this, but for double digit Q, it's fine. Just get out of that line, keep them surrounded a little bit, and just be safe. Just be that extra safe. At single digit Q, we'll put a little bit more risk on ourselves. But a double digit Q is just don't die. Just don't die. All right. All right. And I think I've spent plenty of moves. We have all the space over here, all the space down here. I think we're fine. Okay, so let's play a big move. I think the bottom side is wider than the left side. So let's just go approach. We could also play an extension if we wanted to. But I like stopping the enclosure. Okay, let's make a base so we can go here. We can also slide. Attach, we're gonna do attachments at single digit Q. So let's just go here. It's a little bit slow, but safe. The 1 point jump is actually bad in some cases. For example, if there was a instead of 1 point jumps, if all of these points were filled, and the same thing was over here, if it was just line and line of stones with no jumps, then this is actually cuttable. So no shape is ever a never. there's there's never a never in Go. There's always exceptions. But 80% or 90% of the time, 1 point jumps are good. 1 point jumps are fine. At single digit Q, we're actually going to start talking about why we do certain things and then trying to find the exceptions to those things. Like find that last 20% and start identifying it. Okay, so no open sides, so now we're at largest framework. I would say whites is bigger, so let's just invade. 3-3. Easy peasy. Our opponent's is bigger, let's just go in. Okay. We're just gonna play defense. So here's one of those bad habits I was talking about. So this is fine for 10Q, but 10Q is almost single digit Q. White's choice is on this move, but now White's thinking on this move, and that actually doesn't make as much sense to me because first White has to choose which direction, then White chooses Hane or not Hane, and so you kind of want to have all the rest of the moves already kind of figured out before. I guess he doesn't know the Joseki before you even play the Nobi. So thinking about when you've already committed to a certain Joseki or to a certain shape or pattern, and then you think about what to do, the habit doesn't make sense. Okay, so I'm just going to run out so I don't get surrounded. And this also unsettles White, so it's a pretty nice move. Of course, I'm checking my cutting points. They don't work. He does have a cut right here that doesn't work, but it allows a squeeze. But don't worry about that. It's fine. It's a-okay. You're not going to die. That's all you're worried about is will I die? And no, you're not going to die. As long as you don't die, you're good. All right. Cutting point doesn't work. Peep and then run out. Technically doesn't work, but maybe you're worried about it. So I think defensive wise we're good. Can we attack? Can we cut the knight move? Yes, but that might be too much reading. Let's just do our double digit Q is just wedge. I think this is better, but this is our double digit Q shape, just wedge. Leave the cutting points. We're strong. We're alive. They're gonna fix probably, and then whatever. Three. Okay, so 3/3 Josekis are not simple. That is a lie. The stronger you get, the more complex the 3/3 becomes. There are simple answers, but as soon as you start studying them really in depth, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot more variations than I thought. I think it's true with any Joseki. Any Joseki seems simple until you start trying to deviate. Um, all right, so he has a cutting point. Do we want to cut? Do we want to cut? I think we do. I don't see. Let's see. Here. Didn't run away. What I'm worried about is will I get in trouble trying to cut this? But just looking 3 moves deep, it looks okay for us. So we're just going to do that. Maybe we get in trouble, but whatever. Who cares, right? We're double digit Q. Single digit Q will read like 5 moves. But doont, and then run. It seems like it's okay for us. And sometimes things are going to get reversed, and that's part of the learning experience. But you can't be afraid of something you can't see. Like, that's how you never learn how to swim in the ocean. Maybe that wasn't a good reference because there are actual things in the ocean that will get you that you can't see. But the point I'm trying to make is you can't defend something that doesn't exist if you don't know that it exists. That metaphor didn't work. That metaphor didn't work. If you can't see the shark, they don't exist. um, I don't know what metaphor to use now. I just broke my own brain. Don't defend something that you don't see, though. It's just a bad habit. Maybe it works if you're in a video game and you have the respawn functionality. Then you should not be afraid to explore somewhere. You should not be afraid of dying to prevent yourself from exploring somewhere. Right? You shouldn't be afraid of doing something. If death is not a consequence. You should try it and learn. That's how you like beat bosses and stuff in video games. So yeah, treat this like a video game, not like real life. Don't apply that principle in real life. Like that principle does not work in real life, but in video game logic, it totally works. There we go. I made it work. Made it work. All right, so we need to take the base. I'm going to take from this side because I want to push it towards the strong side. If I push it this way, and then he gets stun on both sides, and we should know that shape by now. Yeah, I played Demon Souls when it first came out, okay? And like everyone's like obsessed with Dark Souls, and I'm like, no, Demon Souls is what started it, and that was amazing. And that's what I did. I would die until I figured it out. I would just die over and over and over until I figured it out. That's pretty much what you have to do with attack and defense for now. You don't just like go in blindly. You don't just run in, right? You run in with a plan. And if that plan doesn't work, you adjust the plan. And that's kind of what you do with attack and defense. Okay. We are attacking. So we've unsettled. So we want to surround. So we have shoulder hit and we have cap. I think cap is good here. So just cap. And we're the attacker. That's what we're doing. Not worried about over here yet. Don't worry about the big move yet. You're attacking. Just attack. Just attack. Okay, we're just gonna keep surrounding, so just use another cap. Seems pretty okay. We're not too worried about a knight's move when we're the attacker. All right. And we're just going to cut, because there's actually two ways to cut here. So this is, here's a good habit, right? Here's a good habit. I kind of did this automatically, but if I'm double the queue, my first thought is cut through the elephant. Okay. But boom, 1, 2, 3, and I have 2 cutting points. Okay. I mean, it looks manageable. But if I compare it to cutting right here, 1, push, 2, 3, 1 cutting point. Or Hane cut, 0 cutting points, or because you've already been cut the 1. So this one actually has less cutting points, and it looks like a little bit better shape than this one. So even though this one is my first instinct, I'm not rushing to my first option. I'm always looking, is there a better shape? Is there a better shape? Is there a better shape? And just build that habit. Now, I kind of did it automatically and was about to just play here, but to build that almost automaticness is you have to think, you have to compare the options and kind of like visualize 3 moves and say which one looks better. Which one has less cutting points? Which one's better shape? Forcing moves, liberties, all the things you've learned at double digit Q, you start wanting to apply. And you say, which one is better? Which one is better? And just read 3 moves. I mean, even reading 3 moves is single digit Q, right? So just building the habit of reading 3 moves is super useful if you can do it. Now, double digit Q, even if you played this one, it's still okay, right? It's still fine. But if you can start building that skill, if you can start building that habit, at single digit Q, you can push it a little bit further. So I'm going to play here, because I think this one is better than this one. But just that idea, right? Okay. This is our opponent's last escape route. So just surround. Unless the knight's move leaves a cut that connects both the opponent's group and Sente. I mean, yeah, don't let your opponent connect Sente. Don't do that. Always read the cuts, yes. But most of the time, we're not worried about a simple cut. But if there's like a cut where you're just going to die or your opponent just immediately connects, usually those are less about cutting and more about forcing moves. And that goes into just reading 3 to 5 moves and identifying when the cuts work. And technically to improve on that is go problems. But I don't have a good example of that. But yes, you're technically supposed to read the cut and say, okay, it doesn't help them. Big move. But I don't know. Just played on the line. I just panic clicked and played on the line because oops. I think that we're good. We could probably spin one more move to just make sure it's dead. But it's okay. Like, I was just trying to play a big move. They ignored, and I've already ignored twice, I think. We can spend the time to make sure this is dead, but no, we should do that. We should do that. We should do that. I kind of just went to play online, but we should do that. Okay, actually, defense first. I gotta defend the stone I just played. So defense first, so just keep reducing. Make sure I'm okay. And then I can come back and kill this. Or make sure it's dead. I should say I can make sure it's dead. Here's a little trick. While your opponent's thinking about how to attack you, you can go look over here while it's not your turn. Let's reduce the ice space. Boom, block, boom. Let's just say push. I think that Tiger's Mouth is usually a vital point. So push, block, push, block, push. That's 2 in a row. If he plays here, that's 3 in a row. It's still only 1 eye. Okay. So push, expand, block, Tiger's Mouth, because that's a shape. Okay, so need to defend first. So before, stop the reading here and go back over here. This is looking pretty safe. We can also go here. But let's just connect our groups. Here is a double peep, but it should be okay, actually, but this is probably a simpler shape, less reading. All right, let's get back down here. Push, play over here. Hane, Tiger's Mouth. That's looking a little sketch. So what if I block right here or right here? And they expand and then play here. I can push and push. But it looks like he might make an eye right there. So what if I play right here and then push? Push. Really worried about these forcing moves. So it doesn't look simple enough that you can just say it's dead. So if it's not simple enough that you can say it's dead, then you should play another move. So what's the best way to play this? Let's just reduce in the simplest way possible. I think there's a Ko over here, but there might be just life over here. So I don't know. I actually don't know. I want to spend a lot more time reading this, but double the GQ basics. So we're just going to let's just reduce the eye space. I think most people play with this one first. Just gonna reduce the eye space. All right, so now, okay, so he's responding. So reduce the eye space. If he ignores again, we have to ignore again, because at that point, he's ignored us 3 times, and we can't. 3 Tanukis is going to be of equal value. 4 Tanukis is going to be greater than the dead group. So I think we've punished quite a bit here. And it looks like after this, we're going to start Yosei. Okay. Let's see if he expands. Block. Push, 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 push.
10, 9,
there.
8, 7, 6,
I think he's dead,
5,
but
4.
I think it's not double the GQ. I think he's just dead right now, but this is something that you actually need to improve your reading on. So if you can read that it's dead, you get a free move. If you can't, you don't. That's kind of like the pros and cons of doing Go problems, right? If you don't do them, then you get less moves. But if you do Go problems and you can read it and you improve your reading to the point where you can read it and it's just dead, you get more moves because you know it's dead. But if you don't know that it's dead, you can't just leave and say, I hope it's dead. Because what if it's not? Then you just lost your chance to maybe instant win a game. So you have to know the result before you can just leave. Yeah, I think that's Sente. Yeah, that looks pretty Sente. This round, that's fine. So now I know it's dead. It should be pretty obvious that it's dead. But yeah, if you want to improve your life and death, do Go problems, right? I mean, you should be doing Go problems like all the time. Hundreds a day. A couple hundred Go problems a day. Oh, which is another habit that you can build, which I got my wife into doing, which I'm very happy about. She does probably a couple hundred a day. I started the way to start building the habit of doing Go problems is actually to do easy Go problems first, which I'm going to go ahead and just say we're in Yosei. He's dead. We don't have cutting points, so Yosei. So the way you start doing Go problems is you build the habit of doing them first. So start with easy problems, something that you can solve relatively easily. So I started her with capture problems. And funny enough, by starting her with the capture problems, I built her habit and actually got her eyes trained to just start solving things that by the time she got to the problems that were her level, she's actually solving them really fast and quite easily, and it's not mentally exhausting to her compared to if I had started her on her level. Then she actually might have thrown a fit about like it's too hard, it's too much. But like easing her into it actually built the habit, and yeah. now she's solving like 1 to 200 problems a day, which is really great. And she's actually learning new shapes and tactics from it too, which is great. It's great. I'm very happy about it. But how I did that was we just started doing easy problems, and then once the habit was built, you just run out of easy problems, and you start doing the next level, and it becomes easier and easier. And then before you know it, you're doing hundreds of Go problems a day. Yeah, I'm doing the 101 Weiqi website. I'm actually, what started it was I was starting to do it first, and I started it. Yeah, she started at the top of 101. And the reason was that it came up was because I pretty much told myself, I'm just going to do every problem on the site. I'm like, let's just do it, right? I just wanted to say that I've done that. So I actually just told myself, you know what? I'm just going to start from the top and go all the way through them. I'm just going to do every Go problem on that site. So I just started doing it, and then she started doing it with me, and it's going well. She's actually done more problems than me because she's trying to stay ahead of me. She's fighting it. It's activated her competitive spirit that she wants to constantly be ahead of me now. So she's actually done more than me, which is kind of funny. Here. Vicente. Yeah. I really like the 101weiqi.com. And surprisingly, it's very easy to do it on your phone too. And she uses Google Translate. I don't because I just know where the buttons are, but it's very, very easy to do on your phone. Okay, push. All right, where else can we push? Here. I actually don't know if I've mentioned the 101 Wei Chi in the series. So this is 101 weiqi.com, and then the categories is /SPEC / and that goes to this page, which is the categories, and you can use translate, but technically all you have to do is click on them. And basically what you do is just start from the top and work your way down. And that's the order you pretty much should learn them. So if you want to do Go problems, if you want reading that is dawn level, you should be able to solve every tactic or every problem. Not maybe like 90+% of these problems, because I think some of the life and death might be 5 dawn or something, but pretty much almost every single problem on this page, if you can do that, you have dawn level reading. Okay, and I'm just gonna keep pushing because you say if you want to have middle game reading that is dawn level, understand the fundamentals, and do all those Go problems. And do them multiple times, right? You have to do like every category like 3 times until you get like understand the concept. And if you forget the concept, you have to go back and do it another time or two to reinforce the concept to make sure you don't forget it. If you can readily handle every shape in that set, then you're pretty much ready. You pretty much have dawn level reading. Now, it doesn't make you a dawn because there's more to it than that, but your reading will pretty much be dawn level. So just to reinforce my reading again, I just started from the top and I'm like, I'm gonna do every Go problem. Just for the practice. Okay, I think that's all the Sentayose. That's Gote, I believe. That's a cutting point. It's very interesting, and I think I can make some points there if I'm clever, but whatever. Let's just block a big area. Seems fine.
4, 3.
I'm also looking at this move. But it's just diagonal. Okay. Watch the cutting points. I'm not going to block right here and have 2 cutting points. Actually, never mind. I could have. Oops. Whatever. Now I can block right here. It's fine. It's fine. I I did read the cutting points before I played it. I guess I assumed that they work. Oh, oops. Bad Sean. Bad Clossi. Bad Clossi. Read your cutting points. Read your cutting points. The Google Translate for some of the problems is really funny. It's like abandon your child or eat a child. The Google Translate's quite funny. I like the throw into Suji. It's if you think of a Atari as like a child or something, it's like sacrifice a child. If you think about the throw into Suji with that logic, it's sacrifice a child. Uh, to kill a group, sacrifice a child to kill a family. Technically by that Google Translate logic. All right. So I can block here. This one I could probably get away with. I don't think there's any cons to this one. It's just diagonal, block, Hane, fix, connect, block, Hane, there. So there's no consequences. It's just Gote. But I think it's okay. And I don't think Gon will see it. If he does, great. Oh. I think you have to exchange that first. Am I reading too much? Am I reading too much? Am I not playing double digit Q? I think I'm fine. I think this is double digit Q. Whoopsie. I hope it's double digit Q. Okay. It should be double digit Q. My cutting points are fine. Cutting points are fine. No, this is much bigger. This is much bigger. If I connect, he has to fix. If I connect here, he Ataris. I fix. He gets Sentai. If I connect here, he gets a push. And that cut does not work. So I lose 2 points for Sentai.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Yep. 2 points for Sentai is good. Okay. What do I do with Sentai? Where can I push? Here? 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 Not very many places. Let's go here. I don't have a lot of Sentai left. That's a couple points. It's like 3 or 4 points. Push. Push. Is this Sentai? I don't think it's Sentai. I don't think it's Sentai. I think I need to just block. Make some points. Okay. I think we're doing good. We got a lot of points in that center, so I think our Yosei was good. We gained like at least a dozen points right here with our Yosei. So that's good. Dozen points in Yosei is really good. Technically, I think I played this one too fast. Bad habits. Maybe I could have blocked right here, and they cut, and then I block, and I get points for points instead of connecting to living groups, I could have just blocked the points. Bad Clossi habit again. See, this is what I mean about habits. That's what you gotta fix. Don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do. Hello, thank you, Remy. Yes and no. Depends on the week. But this week she's doing good, yes. So that's good. She also got some more pain medication, so it's going. We're trucking along every week. Cutting points are still good. Okay, good. But today was a good physical therapy day. Okay, cutting points are fine. Okay, that's fine. So that's where that cutting point activates, huh? What's the best way to fix this? I don't know. I think it's here actually, because if he cuts right here and then Atari's, I have to fill this anyway. So if I block right here and he cuts and then Atari's, I have to fill this. So I think it just gotta feel like that. I think it's the best way. Funny enough. Empty triangles in in-game aren't necessarily bad. It's middle game where they're bad. Yeah, just block, it's fine. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Okay. Atari goes nowhere. We're good to go. We are golden. Just keep an eye on it. We're golden. Yeah, we can push. Push. Actually, I can get some like 4 points right here. So this one wasn't as big as this one. Okay, that is not as big as this one. I'm using counting. Is counting Yosei double digit Q? Probably not. Counting the difference in Yosei moves is probably single digit Q. So we'll talk more about that single digit Q, but this one was just bigger than blocking. Not super important at this level though. I think single digit Q is going to be much more important. Yeah, but I might have just cheated a little bit and accidentally auto counted. And actually, before I blocked right here, this is Sente. This is much more Sente. Because he didn't block, so technically this is really Sente. So I should have played this and then played that sequence. So yeah, even with single digit Q basics, I'm not even doing perfectly. Ooh, I got a lot of work cut out for me with single digit Q. I'm gonna start having like drill myself. Double digit Q I can kind of do like on instinct. But single digit Q, we're gonna have to start like catching me. Because I'm gonna have some bad habits I gotta fix. Which is gonna be good. It's gonna be great. Because that means you guys get to see me fix the bad habits and know what they are. Know what to avoid. Okay, so Atari. I'm good. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine. Yup, that is White's right to do. All White's right. Yes, because that's a point. Yeah. Um. All right, I'm gonna have to watch these soon. So this is Sente. I think this is becoming Sente.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Okay. And block. Just double checking. Double checking. Don't want to goose the Suji.
10, 9, 8.
Yep. I'm good. I gotta trust my reading. I've got to trust my reading. All right. Do your worst, but please don't kill me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Is that Sente? I don't. Oh man, it's only the internet on the internet forever. My decision will only be on the internet forever.
7,
I have 5 periods. Let's just sacrifice one, right?
5, 4,
Okay, so cut.
2.
I cannot connect because I'll die, so I have to Atari. He Ataris, and I'm just gonna take 2 eyes instantly. Okay, then he Ataris because I'm assuming that's filled. If he Ataris this way and then goes here, that's 4 liberties to like barely any, so I'm perfectly fine. Also, over here I'm fine. So he has to Atari this way. That's the only problem. Then Atari,
10,
take,
9,
push,
7,
Atari.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I think I'm fine. I think I'm fine. I'm thinking fine. I'm thinking fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Stop it. I'm fine. I'm fine. No problems. Not even close. Not even close. Not even close. Not even close. It's fine. Okay. So we're just gonna pass. I'm out of water. All right, Atari, cut, nothing. Cool. Pass.
Remove the dead stillness.
Okay, that looks correct to me, except thank you for the game. All right, so 55.5. All right, let's review. Review this game. Bop, bop, bop. Open corners first, and then open sides. We chose direction. He jumped. So normally, I'd say these Joseikis are easier, but this is okay. It's not bad. Just leads to a more complex game. You saw that as I was jumping, white gets attacked. So that's why this is not one of the Clossi double-digit Q Joseikis, because as soon as you pincer or attack me, I attack you back while defending. So it's not a bad Joseiki, it's just complex. So maybe a little bit too difficult. This one I believe is the easier one. Boom, 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 boom. I say easier. It's not easier. It is probably the one you wanted though, for your purposes. Maybe something like that, or just connect. That gets you influence. So probably more what you were looking for if you're looking for this direction to play. If you really want the top and me not getting that, you can go here, 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 and then pincer. So all this is just showing you there are more Joseiki options, but if you jump and then pincer and you don't know what to do, then this means this is a lack of study. You need to play Joseiki. And if you say, I don't like my options, well, then you need to study more options. And you need to know what options are likely to happen, especially going into single digit Q. Single digit Qs, you really have to know your Joseikis. Double digit Qs, you just need to know a couple, but a single digit Q, you have to really, really know your Josekis. Otherwise, it can get very dangerous. So this is a little bit too complex for 10Q, probably. Probably. For black, this is actually a lot simpler because when your opponent does something weird or something you don't know, just simplify it to the basics, which is save myself, save myself, save myself, easy peasy, save myself. So here, at any time, if white goes here, I have the 3/3. If white takes a 3/3, I can try to cut and be complex, or I can just make a base. I'm fine. And if white takes that base, then I just make the base in the corner. So I have Miai for the A group, perfectly fine. And I can even read and do more stuff, but at the very least, I have 2 ways to make life, 2 ways for the A group to survive. So that means I can focus solely on the B group. Okay, so I'm just jumping. Defend. And I even spent 1 more move. It's okay. Just defend yourself. It's okay. Single digit Q, maybe this isn't that okay, but it's fine. To get to single digit Q, it's fine. Probably white should have focused maybe more on the base part of the base. Like doing this, and you're absolutely alive. At this point, you're probably already alive as well. But if you want to be like super safe, just block your base. It's a lot simpler. Now, you probably still have some cutting points to worry about, but it should be okay. If you don't want to give them the Nobi, then you just jump down like that. It's the same shape, same pattern. They do have this, but it's possible to handle. So if you're worried about your base, block your base. But if you do this, and I slide later, and slide later, you can see your eye space is actually very, very small. So defensive-wise, this is maybe not the best move. Okay, so I felt like I invested enough moves. Probably if I want to be like 1 more, I could probably do it because white's still weak enough that I can bully him later. So even 1 more might even still be fine. But you want to have the idea of Tanuki as soon as possible. So I already spent that extra move. So I think I'm okay. The only downside to not having this jump though is it makes it very difficult to invade right here without it, because with it you can see that the group's pretty strong. But without it, let's say white gets a cap, I defend myself. And then later I want to invade. Okay? And let's say they just run away. Run away, run away. You can see I'm actually starting to get a little bit cramped. So that's kind of the downside. And this is single digit Q thinking, whereas you start thinking, okay, what's the pros and what's the cons? Okay. The pro is you get Sente, which is really big right now. But the con is some of your strategies will be limited because you're not perfectly alive. Now, if you jump, you can do whatever, and you're fine. But your opponent will get a free move for that. So it's a balance. And that's more single digit Q. For double digit Q, I just want you to defend yourself until you think you're alive. Once you're absolutely alive for you, once you feel strong, then I want you to leave. Because technically you want to ignore as soon as possible, but the biggest priority for a double digit Q is don't die, right? If you're dying, put in the extra defense. It's better than, like, Sente isn't worth dying. So don't die. So as long as you're doing that, you're fine. Okay, just made a base. I made the base, and I just went largest framework. Easy peasy. Here, yeah, I think I mentioned Joseki here as well. That would have been a much nicer combination. Yeah. So Joseki knowledge here. Getting cut is a big problem. So I would say if there's one thing to take from this, for white, it's definitely some Joseki knowledge. You were worried about the cut. All right. But are we worried about this in the Joseki? So if this is a Joseki, right? So when you study Joseki, you need to ask yourself, what if my opponent cuts? What do I do? And you gotta know that. You gotta study that, right? So if we just go back here and you Johanna here, your opponent cuts. Are you worried about it? Well, let's do that. You know, push the eye space. They have to try to live. They have try to live, and they're dead. All right. And if you know that, solution from your studies, and if you don't know it, like join the Discord, ask around, like get help to understand this pattern. Understand why is this Hane okay? Like if you're studying Joseki, you can do your research with AI, you can study it on your own, you can also ask for help. But you need to know why is this cut not possible? Because if you don't know, you're right. You cannot play this Hane if you don't know this cut. Okay, why is this cut not possible? Now, once you understand that, it's pretty similar principle. It's black is too weak to pull off that cut. Yeah, this one doesn't die, but the outside Aji is just not great for black. Now, maybe this one is more manageable, but honestly, I could just jump right here. I don't care. I'm not really worried about it. I might be a little bit worried, but I should be able to handle it. This should be much better for white if you try to cut right here. But it's a reasonable thing. But in that case, just Snoopy, right? If the cut works, then just Snoopy. And also, if the cut works here, then Hane here. And now it doesn't work because he'll die. It's just choose a different move. If the cut works at one place, then don't do it. Do the other one. There's more than one option here. Right, so, and then, even if all those cuts worked, why not block this way? Now you have a base. Now you support your weak stone, right? Defense first. So it's just a matter of thinking, what do I need to do? And what are the shapes to get me there? And yes, check your weaknesses. If the weaknesses exist, don't do it, right? Just pick a different variation, pick a different shape. Just do the job and acknowledge the weaknesses and then pick the one that works. But here, you chose this direction, and then you chose the Nobi, and then you didn't know what to do. So this one is not really seeing what's going to happen. You're just saying, what's a good move on this turn? And you're like, okay, now what's a good move on this turn? Well, that kind of works at double digit Q, but it definitely doesn't at single digit Q. At single digit Q, you can't just say what works on this turn. You have to say, what choice will I make that will affect the next 5 moves? Now, a double digit Q, if you can read 3 moves, you're doing great. And technically, all you have to read is your cutting points, and you're going to be fine at double digit Q. Like, it's not like this. This doesn't really matter at double digit Q, but 10 Q is about to be a 9 Q, and it's about to matter very quickly that you don't know how to deal with this cut, or you played a move that had a cutting point. So there was other options that you could have chosen that wouldn't have had the cutting point. So I would say the first thing is Joseki knowledge, for sure. The second thing is, if you notice a problem in your sequence, try to notice it before it exists, and then pick a different shape where the problem doesn't exist. So imagine like pro players, they don't just play the board in front of them. They play 100 games at a time, every single game. They play 100 games in their mind. They're playing all kinds of variations, all kinds of possible futures. And they're picking the future that has the best chance for them to win in their mind, right? So when you're saying, I'm going to pick this one versus this one, you have a choice. You have a choice in your Joseki. You have a choice in your direction. You really need to think about what future will come from that choice. Is that okay with me? And that's kind of single digit Q thinking, but 10Q is almost single digit Q. And I think not knowing Joseki is already hurting you. But here also not knowing that this would cut off your stone. Like even if this was the right move, you're the one who picked the way this went, and it cut you off. So that's not defense first. You could have picked boom, 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 whatever move you played over here, like something like that, right? If you thought this was Joseki, right? Let's say it was. then you could have picked the one that worked with your stone. This is the one that needs a base. This one's fine. You don't need a base over here. You already have one. So this direction would have worked better for that plan. So even oh, you were giving up the stone. Okay. Okay. I disagree with that strategy. Yeah, I disagree with the strategy, but it makes your plan make more sense. In that case, just you can just keep going. But I guess you really want to sell this, so fourth line, probably. Fourth line is better because fifth line I can still like push in, and it's actually really difficult for you. I can even potentially still invade. Because as soon as you block my escape route, there's a lot of Aji here. So there's a lot of problems with fifth line moves. If you're just trying to make points, then you want to go fourth line. If you're trying to build influence, then you make it as big as possible and jump. Because influence, you want to invite your opponent in. That's how it works. Because when you invite your opponent in, you are going to make profit, and that profit is supposed to be your points. That's how influence works. But if you want points, then just make the points. Okay, and that's that plan. But I think you should not just. I don't think you should give up the stone. That's probably not fundamental. It's not. I think it's not basic. I think if you have an easy way to save it, you have to be getting something very large to just give it up. And I don't think you're getting something like abnormally large for the one stone. Because I gave it to you, right? And you got it. You even got it. You can push again. But then you ended up going in my area. Like, hold on. Yours was so big that you gave up a stone to get it, and now you're invading? But I thought yours was the big area. If yours wasn't even big enough to play on, and mine's bigger, then what are you sacrificing for it, I guess? I don't know. I didn't really like the combination, but I guess it kind of makes sense. At least you had a plan, right? You had a plan, which is good. I don't know if I agree with the plan, but at least it makes sense. Probably I would look at this move, but I'm still trying to save the stone, right? If they cut, so maybe here first, then here. And you can make a little bit of a combination right here. And they do have this, though, which is very annoying. But potentially you can go here. This is not double digit Q. This is not double digit Q. It's fine. Just fix the cut. Just fix the cut. That's too much. Too much. Too much. Too much. Too much. Just fix the cut. It's fine. It's fine. This move might be wrong. Okay, so your plan was I'm going to make influence by sacrificing that stone. No, because you got it in Sente. Yeah, you got it in Sente. Okay. But technically, the value you got is only this for killing this. Because you already have that. You've already got that line, right? That line already exists. So by playing this move, you made this trade. So let's go back. Let's say you didn't make it. Okay, and you just went wherever you went. Right here, right? Let's say you didn't make it. You still have control of this area. It's not that much different. But the difference is this stone is not dead yet. It's very weak, but it's not dead yet. Black owes a move. So is forcing black to kill that stone worth this area? I think not. So probably that's not good. I really think you should defend it, though. I really think you should defend your weak groups. It's Clossi Approach. Defend your weak groups is Clossi Approach. But okay. I mean, it's not like Clossi Approach is the only way to play. So I think you should defend it, but it's not like it's the only way to play. There's other plans. But for your plan, I think this one is probably a bad trade. Okay. Invasions, never go for the center point. That's the double-digit lie. The center point is the worst point to play. Because unless you have a base on both sides, that's a wedge. That's a different tactic. But if you don't have a 2-space extension on both sides, you want to pick one. So for example, if you pick here and I defend, you jump, right? So now you can just jump. But if you pick here, I can almost cap. In this case, not quite, but I can almost cap. So this makes me worried that you are playing the center and not thinking about your extensions. And here, I actually did get to cap. So probably just run away. Because it's not really a base. Introvix, yes, but that's single-digit Q. Double-digit Q, you approach a 4th line stoner 3/3. So in this case, I would say the easiest plan for white would be a reduction. Because you can build while reducing. Also, you spent all these moves building this. Build it. So I think easiest double-digit Q move is the reduction here. Or here, if the bottom is really big, this is also a good move. Maybe even here. These are double-digit Q options. Single-digit Q, we can add on attachments, and I think there's a very obvious attachment right here for single-digit Qs. Then we just do this sequence, which is very nice right here. And if they take that away from us, we can Atari out very easily. So I think that one's clearly the easiest if you know attachments, but attachments are single-digit Q. Because attachments require a lot of reading. I don't know. Maybe just fix. Maybe just fix. But I think the attachment there has a lot better follows. But yeah, attachments are single-digit Q. It kind of rubs me wrong that you spent all these moves to build this left influence, but my area is the bigger one. You sacrificed like 15 points right here to build this influence, but my area is the bigger one. But that's what your move says anyway. I think that's not a great plan. Build yours somehow. If you spent all those moves to build it, yours should be the biggest. And if it's not, then I really think it's the wrong plan. If you spent all those moves, you spent all these moves, right? All these moves, not that one. You spent all these moves to build this area. If yours is not the biggest, and you sacrificed 15 points up here, 15 plus points up here to get this area, and if it's not the biggest, probably it's not the right idea. Yeah. If black's is biggest, pick a Joseki that fixes and takes Sente, and go in. If black's is the biggest, take Sente, go in. Fix and Sente, and go in. But if you're going to spend all of these moves to build this Moyo, and then invade me, what does invasion do? Invasion allows me to attack. Okay? If your area is the biggest, I'm going to attack you in a way that helps me destroy your area. So, theoretically, this move is actually going to cost you your area. Not necessarily, because sometimes there are plans that can do that, which is kind of convoluted, but I saw a pro do it once. They literally built thickness to counter the Moyo that their opponent was going to build after their invasion. He wanted to go in and destroy an area because he had enough territory if his opponent didn't have that area. So he wanted to destroy it. but his opponent would get influence. So he played a sequence that made influence for himself and then went to destroy the area. And then when his opponent made the influence, he had influence to counter the influence. It was a really convoluted plan, but it was really cool. It's a little bit too much for double digit Q. But you got to think about like what's happening. If you invade right now, I'm probably going to surround you and get influence, and that influence can counter your influence. Yeah, it was a pro plan. It was a pro strategy. It was really cool. So here, I just apply basics and surround. Just surround. But you didn't live. Defense first. The highest priority of the Clossi approach. Don't die. Okay? Don't die. Highest priority of the Clossi approach is don't die. This move is not connected to your weak group. Just got cut. Just this is life. That's alive. Just expand your eye space and you can make life. So saying that it's dead is incorrect because I can immediately make life. Also, I can run away. Now, maybe run away is not good right here. Like, I don't know if it's good or not. But technically, I think I can run. Maybe. But black might get a lot of thickness for it. There's also a lot of reading, and maybe you'd think you can't run away. Maybe you actually can't run away. It's fine. But even if you can't run away, it doesn't make you dead. So you can very much live with this group. Okay. Even just threatening to run. Boom, 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 boom. That's almost an eye. There's an Atari though. So let's change the order a little bit. So this is single digit Q thinking. If we change the order, make that exchange first. There's an eye, right? So we can be very clever here. There's no way this group should die. Unless you ignore it. Unless you play a move that's not connected to your weak group. How does this help you? Even if it does, is this the biggest move on the board? So I'm going to surround. And then I should have just kept pushing. So I played defense, reduction of defense, and defense, and then I'm like, okay, let's reduce the eye space. Reduce the eye space. Reduce the eye space. And it's dead. And you got another Tanuki. That's fine. But you probably shouldn't have died in the first place, because our double digit Q basics tell us don't die. Right? If you're going to defy that, if you are going to say, I want to sacrifice this group, like letting groups die is not basics. Anytime you don't do basics, we have to apply higher level logic. Okay? So if you're going to say that you sacrifice this group, what did you get for it? You got this move right here. Got those. This move and yeah, those are the moves you got, right? So how much value did these moves get? So you got some value right there. Some value right here. And you stopped value right there. But I technically wouldn't have had value yet anyway. So those are the two circles you got. Now I've got this plus a little bit more. So let's just go ahead and cancel that out for those dead stones, because dead fills your opponent's area. So I got this. So you can see that even this just looks like a bad exchange rate. And even if we make this a little bit big, even if we're generous right here with this area, I still think black got a lot more. So whenever you're going to say, I'm sacrificing the group, you have to really understand what that means. And technically, that's not double digit Q. That's not 10Q. Sacrificing a group is reading how your opponent's going to kill it, reading who gets Sente or how many Tanukis you get, reading what you get with those Tanukis, and then counting the difference, counting the exchange rate. And then you compare that to if you had just lived and your opponent gets a big move, and you count the exchange rate. and then you compare the values and say sacrificing is worth more than living. That's like 2Q. That's like 2Q level. Is comparing like switch like comparing what's gonna happen, living versus dying, reading both results, counting the board on both results, comparing the values, and picking the one that's worth more value for you. It's very high level. Technically possible, but I don't think that's Tinku. It's a talented 2Q. Okay, theoretically 2Q. I think 2Qs should know how to count. Doesn't mean they all do. Theoretically, it's possible at 2Q, I believe. But that's a difficult strategy, right? That's a difficult plan. And I'm all about making the game easier for yourself. So why pick such a difficult plan? Living with your weak group is going to be worth more most of the time. Yes, I think we can all agree dying with groups for Tanukis is usually a negative exchange rate most of the time. There are some rare exceptions. There's a high level players can usually find those, but like most of the time, living is worth more. So if you don't know how to do that exchange rate of points, counting, and reading, if you don't know how to do all that, then you should pick the plan that's right most of the time. And that's what the Clossi Approach is. Pick the plans that are right most of the time. It'll be right most of the time. Your Clossi Approach moves will be correct most of the time. And then single digit Q, you're going to start looking for those exceptions. But to get to single digit Q, just pick the plans that are right most of the time. So here, sacrificing your group is not fundamental. It's not basic. So I think you're picking plans that are not Tinku. I think you're picking plans that are just too much. They're too difficult to handle. You are sacrificing groups here, and I really think that both of these exchanges, both of these sacrifices, you lost value. Because this for this for this, and this. I really think these are negative exchange rates. This one is comparable, possibly, but these 4 moves got nothing. So you actually could have gotten this area without sacrificing it. And that's why I think this was just unnecessary. So even if this one is arguable, this one I think is not. I think this one is just a clear negative exchange rate. And then the fact that you're doing this multiple times a game is probably a strategy that is getting you in a lot of trouble. So if I was to put myself in your shoes, I mean, like, what can I do to improve to single digit Q? Probably 2 things. In the opening, improve Josekis and work on Joseki choices. In the middle game, stop choosing sacrifice plans because I don't think you understand how to count and calculate all that just yet. I think sacrifice plans are not 10Q, and I think there's easier plans that will win games at 10Q and 9Q than sacrificing groups. I think it's way too much, and I don't think you should be doing it. Okay, thank you. So I really think that any plans okay, any plans that require you to sacrifice a group probably don't. At least for a while. Probably you don't want to do that. It's probably a bad plan. More times than not, it's going to be a bad plan. And if you don't know how to prove it, this is a big thing. If you're going to pick a plan like sacrificing a group, and you don't know how to prove that it's a correct choice, like the counting that I just mentioned, if you can't prove it, and you're picking a plan that's wrong more than it's right, that's just buying a lottery ticket at that point. Because the lottery's literally rigged against you. So sacrificing a group for a plan that works, that fails more times than it succeeds, is kind of like that. It's just a bad plan. unless you've done the math. Like, same with like certain lotteries, some people actually made a huge profit on. They did the math, statistical analysis, and everything, and said, "Oh, this is a profitable investment." At that point, it's not gambling; it's just math. Same with sacrificing groups. If you read it out, read both, and you count the exchange rates, and you see that this one is worth more, that's not gambling. That's not taking a risk. That is just math at that point, and that's fine. I think it's just too much for you right now. It's just too much for this level. It's unnecessary. There's so many easier plans to accomplish. So I'd say, in the middle game, you need to get to the point where you never die. Okay, if you can do that, if you can get to the point where you never die, then it becomes is a game of efficiency. Now, there will come a time where efficiency is so important that you have to risk death to do it, but that's dawn level. That's kind of what I've been working on, right? That's to get from like low dawn to mid dawn to high dawn. That's kind of what I've been working on, is like reading every possibility and making sure that, and living and making sure that you won't die with the least amount of moves possible, so you can go to Nuki and play big move. That's really, really hard. And if your reading is even one move off, you die. And you just instantly lose the game. If you read one move off, you lose the game instantly. Okay? That's dawn level efficiency. That's really freaking hard. You can get to dawn with shortcuts. Like, you can get to dawn a lot easier with easier plans than that. So don't worry about it. I don't think you need to do that. I think pick simpler plans. Don't worry about dawn level efficiency until you're dawn. Worry about 10Q efficiency. So right now, I would say opening Joseki, middle game, don't die. If you can just prevent yourself from dying, and then have 10Q efficiency, you'll probably win your games. Majority of the time. There will be players that are more efficient and that are leaving too many weaknesses, and from there you have to learn how to attack. Because remember, there's 3 things that you need: defense, offense, and big moves. You need all 3 of those to like win at that level. So you need 10Q defense, which is don't die, 10Q big moves, open corners, open sides, largest framework, and 10Q offense, which is if your opponents just ignore a group like this one, you got to be able to kill it. If your opponents sacrifice a group, you got to be able to kill it, right? So it's just a matter of making your entire game 10Q, and then level up your opening to 9Q. How do you do that? Josekis. Level up your middle game to 9Q. How do you do that? First, don't die. Don't die. And then like be efficient about it. And then level up your big moves to 9Q, and then Yosei to 9Q, and then you repeat the process. Have an 8Q opening, have an 8Q defense, 8Q offense, 8Q middle game, and you just, or 8Q Yosei, and you just keep repeating that, right? That's all it is. That's all it is. That's the Clossi Approach way to dawn. It's not the only way to dawn, and I've said this many times. The Clossi Approach is not the only strategy. It's just the strategy that I think is the easiest and most efficient for most players to get to dawn level. So don't worry about these plans that are like super complex. I think just simplify your game. And for the video, I really want you guys thinking about this. Like, when you're picking a plan that is not basic, what does it require? And this goes into like the sacrifice play, right? Sacrifice for something else. It's not necessarily a bad plan. It's not necessarily a bad plan. But whenever you choose a plan that is not fundamental, that is not like your cheat sheet, that is just right most of the time, whenever you're choosing something that is most of the time wrong, but in these specific circumstances you think it's right, how are you proving that to yourself? What proofs do you need? So for example, this one, for sacrificing this group, the proof is, what moves do I get versus the value of this group? What's the count on the board? And then if I had saved this group and my opponent ignored, and my opponent gets Sente, what's the count of the board? And you compare those values, and that's how you can prove or disprove the sacrifice play. But if you can't do that, if you can't prove that this is the exception, if you don't know the proof and you can't prove it, stick to the basics. The basics are correct most of the time. If you can't prove that they're wrong, you need to stick to them. It's just safer. It's easier. There's less risk involved. So yeah, I think that's enough for this video. I think it's just more experience, more practice. Just this is just more information for you guys. That's kind of why I'm doing like multiple games at each level, because I kind of talked about what you need to double digit queue many times already. Getting to single digit queue is just a matter of, with the Clossi approach anyway, it's just a matter of understanding all these principles and then showing the examples of how to use it. In which I think Black's play, I think, is a lot simpler to understand than White's. It's not like White's plans are bad. It's just they're complex. And then I think the execution was probably bad, but I know the proofs on how to prove or disprove it, more or less. I think until a pro walks in the room. But I think there's you see Black's just winning with simpler plans, and that's what you really need to do with the Clossi approach. Win with simpler execution. Don't make, if your opponent does something complex, simplify it, and then just do it. And sometimes they can win. But I guarantee you the win-loss ratio of a simple plan versus a non-simple plan, the weaker you are, the higher the ratio will be for the simple plan, the win-loss ratio for the simple plan. The complex plan is complex for a reason, because it's high risk, high reward. Not necessarily a bad plan, but think about how many games you're going to win with it. And pick the plans that you can use at your level. So yeah, hopefully you guys found this helpful, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.